Yo, what's going on, guys? CultofMush back at it with another video. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the recently revealed Gears of War Ultimate Edition system requirements. Yes, Gears of War is finally coming back to PC, although this is just a remastering of the first game, which was already on PC, but I digress. It's nice to see Gears of War back in some form on PC. And this is a game that's been a long time coming. Microsoft has delayed this game quite a bit. It was originally supposed to come out at the end of last year, and now it's February. We still don't have the game. We still don't have an official release date, but we do have the system requirements, and I thought I should go over them. And they are pretty high for a game that runs on the Xbox One at 1080p and 60 frames per second, and a game that's essentially a remastering of an Xbox 360 game. But I digress. Let's get into this with minimum CPU requirements. For minimum CPU requirements, you're looking at an Intel Core i5 at 2.7 GHz or an AMD FX6 core. Now, a lower-end i5 has actually been the norm for a lot of recent games to list that as minimum requirements, but again, this is a game that was originally released on the Xbox 360. It's running great on the Xbox One. I really hope that this is a game that can run on an i3. That would be nice. And also for minimum, it's listing an AMD FX6 core. For recommended CPU requirements, you're looking at an Intel Core i5 at 3.5 GHz or an AMD FX8 core. That's pretty beefy stuff. I know most of us with, a $700 to a $1,000 PC probably have something like that. But honestly, this is a game that should have no problem running on a $500 PC if you actually look at what the game is. And then they also have recommended system requirements for 4K, which that recommends an Intel Core i7 at 4 GHz or an AMD FX8 core. Obviously, most of you guys don't game at 4K, but they list it anyway just in case. Minimum memory requirements is 8 GB of RAM, and then they also listed to require 2 GB of VRAM on the minimum. 8 GB of RAM being the minimum is kind of surprising, especially, again, for a game like this. A lot of newer games these days recommend 4 GB as minimum, but no, for a game that's a remaster of a decade-old game, 8 GB is the minimum amount of RAM you're gonna need. And then for recommended RAM requirements, 16 GB of RAM, and then they also recommend you to have 4 GB of VRAM, but 16 GB of RAM is pretty high. Again, this might be a case like Star Wars Battlefront, where it did recommend 16 GB of RAM for whatever reason, but it ran fine on 8 GB. This could be another scenario like that. For recommended 4K RAM requirement, you're looking at 16 GB of RAM and then 6 GB of VRAM as well. Again, a lot of you guys probably aren't going to game at 4K, but it's nice of them to give that information. And then obviously what you guys care about, the video card requirements. The minimum GPU requirement is a Geforce GTX 650 Ti or an AMD Radeon R7 260X. That's pretty low end stuff, although a lot of you guys that have a GTX 650 Ti, chances are you have a 1GB version, and for minimum they are saying you're going to need 2GB of VRAM, so that's kind of unfortunate. But the 650 Ti and R7 260X are fairly low end GPUs, so it's nice to see that being minimum. But then for recommended GPU requirements, they're knocking it way up, recommending a GTX 970 or an R9 290X. That's just pretty crazy. Maybe they're adding a lot of stuff to the PC version. Maybe they're adding exclusive features. I know that the game will require a DirectX 12 capable video card, but still, it just seems a bit crazy to recommend a GTX 970 or an R9 290X for a game that, again, was initially an Xbox 360 game, and a game that does run very, very well on the Xbox One at 1080p and 60 frames per second. So hopefully recommending the 970 and the R9 290X is justifiable. Hopefully they added a lot of stuff to the PC version, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see how that turns out. And then recommended requirements for 4K, they're recommending a GTX 980 Ti or an R9 390X. Honestly, I don't see those kinds of video cards running a game at 4K at 60 frames per second. I just don't think we're really at the point where a $500 video card can run a game like this at 4K at really good frame rates and really good settings. And then a lot of people are also going to bring up how the GTX 980 Ti is such a better video card than the R9 390X. Why are they both being recommended for 4K? That's a bit weird, but there has been that AMD DX12 thing they've had over NVIDIA for a while now, so hopefully Gears and Quantum Break will shine a bit of light on that. So that's going to wrap up this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think about these system requirements? Are you going to be picking up Gears of War? Let me know in the comment section down below, and always, if you have a request for a future video, comment it down below. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.